You think we're ever going to have unity? This is the problem. Unity, if let's say your dad's a or your grandfather's a and you walk up and you slap his teenager, you now have made that person hate you for life. And that's what I'm seeing with not even my generation. Younger people are going, I had nothing to do with this shit. They came up during the riots. They've come up under DEI, and they're seeing a 12-time murder rate, skyrocketing crime, and any proposals they make not holding institutional power shut down as racist.
Now, while
Steven Crowder nukes this barbershop, calling out the black fatigue in America while sharing how white people feel about it during this heated debate, as Steven Crowder breaks down what black fatigue means to a lot of white Americans and how wokeism, along with BLM, is making many of the young white generation become angry that you can't even point out obvious facts without being labeled a racist. Let's get in.
Accused of racism, sexism, misogyny, homophobia. What I'm saying is black fatigue is white people going, you know what? I know I'm not racist. And I know that we're dealing with record crime, and I know that I'm more at risk. And they have negative interactions, and they're constantly told that they're not allowed to voice their fucking opinion because they're white. And if those people get pissed off, like that's where we actually could end up with some kind of, I'm telling you, I see this brewing. I see people who were milquetoast white suburban who are becoming actually racist. Now, not all of them, but I've seen people actually become racist because they get mugged, their store gets looted, and nothing gets done. They're going, and if I say something, it's turned into a race thing. I'm telling you what, that's where it's coming from. At what point do we have a talk and go like, okay, let's reform justice, but we have to be honest as to why it was reformed in the first place. This guy, it's not even the only one. It's every 3 days someone's being offed.
Yeah, but at the same time, let's transfer that over to, you know, I mean, there's a lot of unsafe things in this world. Like getting mugged by a black person is not the paramount unsafe thing. There's school shootings, there's road rage, there's all of that shit.
Yep.
And the primary people that commit a lot of those are people who don't have this skin.
No.
So if switch it over, if black people say, well, we getting fed up and we tired of all these school shootings and all of these road rage and all that, who do we say something to? Who hears our voice?
And when does the white fatigue kick in?
And when does the white fatigue kick in?
Well, we've been hearing about white, that's the point, right? We've been hearing about it all our lives, about white fatigue, about systemic discrimination.
But nothing's ever been done. That's the problem.
It has been done. Here. That's why we've done systemic justice reform that has led to more crime, right? That's the reason for no 3-strike policy. That's the reason for cashless bail. That's the reason for catch and release. The reason for it, in the wake of Black Lives Matter, George Floyd riots, Summer of Love, was we're going to reform crime, we're going to reform the justice system, and it's gotten worse everywhere it's been. And then when white people leave those neighborhoods, well, now it's white flight. If they come in, it's gentrification. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of people who are pissed off, and they're not going to sit down and have this conversation and be real about it. And they're going, well, what happens when someone has to keep their mouth shut about everything?
Nobody tell you have to keep
That's how they feel. That's how they feel.
I don't believe white people have to keep their mouth shut. I think white people don't speak up about a lot of the things that they do and they perpetuate that affects us negatively. That's the stuff that nobody wants to, the issues aren't made about those things. I really respect the platform that you have because you do have open and honest conversations. And I have to say, I don't believe that those numbers about the black people murdering white people are correct. I don't believe those numbers are correct.
What if they are? What if I'm not lying to you?
If you're not, then I've been misled and I've been isolated from realistic numbers. But I know in this country, from the time that we got here and until now, there's never been hordes of black people that just go out and maraud and menace white people. Interactions happen and things do occur. I'm not saying that they don't, but not by and large in number. We can't be this small a percentage of the overall population and still have the numbers that people try to perpetuate on to us. See, black people do more harm to other black people than we do to other white people.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Because
people who are close. That's true.
We also have historical evidence of groups of white people attacking and chasing black people.
So it's
coming after.
So when people say
it's not happening now.
So I'm just saying,
and that's the point. Is we're at a precipice right now.
That's a part of the historical condition.
Well, sure, but someone today.
Hold on. I wasn't finished making my point. I wasn't finished making my point. You know, when like I said, black fatigue, that's the newest mantra that's been put out into society to make people think that, okay, they tired of black people. They tired of what you said, that we can't say anything about black people. We can't do, well, when you hold all the power, when you hold all the economic rights, when you hold all the things that make this country move, when you're in charge of those things, you know what I'm saying? Well, you know what, I put it like this. White people got the firecrackers, we got the stem. That's it. Y'all got the power. The power is placed outside of the black community. We're charged with all the negative things. Those are the things that are really generally coincide with how people relate to us. The bad stuff that's go wrong with this world is the black people's fault. We the smallest part of this country. Remember that. You know what I'm saying? Beside the immigrants that come here, we have been tasked with the negative, the criminal, the immoral. That's us, and that's what we consider. That's white fatigue. But you know what we do? We just say that's just how it's always been. So we don't make up words for it or terms for it. So now you have a frustrated group of white constituents that feel like, oh, we can't say anything. We have to do this. We have to do that. So you don't be deemed as that. Well, if you wasn't that in the beginning to start with, there would be no need for the reform or the feelings that you have. You can't say anything about because you done treated us like shit for so long, and people finally stood up and said, hey, you got to stop treating us like shit. Now that you want to feel like, you know, things aren't going in the manner that you want them, now we want the right to keep saying those things.
What if your premise is completely flawed? And what I mean by that is if we're trying to understand it, you said you have power in all those institutions.
Yes.
What if, for example, you have an entire generation of people, young white men, women, who if they apply to a college or apply to a job, they don't have a grant, there's no Pell Grant, there's no type of subsidy, there's no DEI initiative. As a matter of fact, they're likely to be passed over. They hold no institutional power. And when you say black people haven't done anything, when you think of this white person, a young white person, because I'm seeing some people become radicalized and it can become a problem. Yeah. And then they see billions of dollars and riots and damages all summer long, and then they go, why is this happening? Black Lives Matter, right? So they're gonna make that connection. Now they have no institutional power, but if they go into a neighborhood that's largely black, they're gonna get the shit kicked out of them. And they're being blamed for something that supposedly their racist forefather did that they have nothing to do with. You think we're ever gonna have unity? This is the problem. Unity, if let's say your dad's a or your grandfather's a and you walk up and you slap his teenager, you now have made that person hate you for life. And that's what I'm seeing with not even my generation. Younger people are going, I had nothing to do with this shit. They came up during the riots, they've come up under DEI, and they're seeing a 12-time murder rate, skyrocketing crime, and any proposals they make not holding institutional power shut down as racist.
Now, why?
Yeah, and Steven Crowder is 100% right on this point. I mean, the George Floyd riots caused $2 billion worth of damages. All the while, everyone was told you have to stay in your home, or you're killing your grandma, or you can't go to church, you're a MAGA extremist, whatever. But if you wanted to burn stuff down, be in the streets, yell, scream, cause $2 billion worth of damages, that was completely okay. The left was completely okay, even marching with them. They were breaking their own rules to be en masse out causing destruction. So I can imagine, yeah, especially if you're a much younger person, you're growing up in all of this, all the while, in some of these schools and these DEI hellholes, young white kids are being told you're racist because of what your forefathers did. Whiteness is evil and all. This is in the schools. It's in the colleges, right? This is happening this entire time. So if you're going through all this and all the while, yeah, if you want to speak up and say anything like, hey, this is wrong, I don't deserve to be treated this way, I didn't have anything to do with that, yeah, you're labeled as a racist. So anytime you want to come to a solution to the problem, they shut it down simply by shaming you. This is the tactic of the woke left. They don't want a discussion. They don't want what Steven Crowder is doing right now. Like the woke left never did this. They would never have an actual honest sit down conversation with. Like Steven Crowder does that, right? The woke left, no, they don't. They just shame and attack you. And then you never get to the point of figuring out the solution to the problem. It just keeps dragging itself on. So yeah, the woke left BLM, they don't solve anything. It's just chaos and utter destruction. And you need to point it out and stamp this out. I can get, the perspective of the other guy, kind of growing up in a country, all of this problem's been happening, but you know what? It's the left that's been doing that, right? It's you, it's your side. You're voting for the problem and you don't get it. If so many Black Americans would finally realize, like, the team you're playing for actually doesn't give a crap about you and has been using you for decades, if you would finally understand that and just leave them, you would stop having so many of these problems, because essentially their political base to be able to enforce all this would just absolutely go away. But hit that like button and notification bell if you're enjoying the video, and if you want to help support the channel, there's a link down below in the description, and let's get back in.
Why was DEI even instituted in the first place? Because for the majority of time that black people have been in this country and been free, we've been denied so much. Somebody somewhere had to put some things in place to provide access of some kind.
If you believe that, that's fine, but you can't tell that young white kid who had nothing to do with it that he should just sit down and take it, especially when they're getting killed at 12 times the rate.
That's what America's been telling us for the longest.
The young white man that has to
not in my lifetime.
DEI, the young person of this generation that you said that feels they're misled by the being mistreated by the DEI.
I'm just using it as an example. They don't hold any institutional power. Young white people don't. They don't have an advantage.
Not yet, because they're young white people. They have an advance to where they're middle-aged white people, where the power comes. See, what black people, once again, when you got colleges that denied access to black people, you can't come here. Something had to be put in place. Well, look, y'all got to let some black people come here. Y'all can't just
that started happening long before DEI.
But see, all DEI
long before black people were admitted into colleges, HBCUs.
Hold on, let me say what I'm trying to say.
My bad. My bad, I'm trying to make it clear.
He's trying to do a senior census and talk through you. So that,
well, because you trying to.
No, I get it.
DEI is just a new way of wrapping affirmative action.
Yeah.
Affirmative action had to be put in place because there was the access being denied. So somewhere, the legislation had to be put in place. Well, look, we can't just exclude all of them. So somewhere along the line, they have to be allowed some access. Okay, that was put in place. Now, fast forward till now, those same things that are put in place for those people back in those generations that are still in place, they're not excluding people from getting to places they're just still trying to keep those doors open so that those black people that were coming through that door can still get in. Because if you remove those, over time, we will be denied the access again.
If a black person has lower SATs, right, and lower GPA, should he get in over an Asian or a white person?
Let me ask.
If all things are supposed to be laid out equal, no, you shouldn't get. If you don't have it,
that's what's happening.
What it takes.
Now, this is where this guy loses me. He can champion DEI all he wants, but Steven Crowder is right. You know, we changed all that before DEI. DEI is not affirmative action. DEI is quota systems, and he doesn't think about the fact that when you have affirmative action, it's Asian Americans who get stuck the bill. Like if you're giving preferential treatment, if you're making pathways for someone else is losing. There's no other way to pay for it. Somebody has to fill that gap. So Asian Americans for the longest time had to score 200 points higher on their ACTs, I believe, or SATs, in order to get into Harvard and schools like that. So someone else just got screwed. Like either you treat everyone fairly and equally, or if you're going to get someone preferential treatment, you have to take from somebody else to do it. There is no other way. And you can look at it from a moral perspective, but that's the practical implication of what is happening. And they continue to try and justify it. And DEI is just blatant racism on steroids. I mean, it's just like, no, we don't want white people. So we call it diversity, equity, and inclusion when it's really exclusive. Like we're trying to exclude white people. We don't want them in here. So yeah, you've had all these positions created for simply people to yell racism at other people and get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. No, that's not affirmative action. That's just spreading hatred, bigotry, and racism. That's all DEI has done. And now that's exactly why all of this stuff is collapsing, because on every single metric, everywhere it's instituted, everything gets worse. And that's exactly what Steven Crowder is talking about. Everywhere that all of these woke left policies are instituted, everything gets worse. And yet these people keep voting for them. But thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought about what Steven Crowder had to say, calling out the black fatigue exploding in America. Thanks again, like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.